the regime sent thousands of troops to our house in Latakia. They bombed it with tanks, rocket launchers, gunships, helicopters, and many people died. At the time, I was trying to talk to the media in the West, trying to tell them, please don't follow the regime's what the regime is saying, their story, that they're attacking a illegal port belonging to my father. It was our house.
Now, let me first welcome then to the programme Ribal Al Assad, who is cousin to Bashar al Assad and who's also director of the Organisation for Democracy and Freedom in Syria. Welcome to the programme.
Good evening, sir. Many thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Can I just ask you, first of all, how well do you know your cousin?
Well, I don't know him, actually. I only met him once in front of the Sheraton Hotel, where he spoke to me badly out of the blue. And I stood up to him and he ran away. And then a couple of months later, he tried to assassinate me. I mean, his father sent troops, tried to assassinate me at the Damascus International Airport when I was flying to Boston via Austrian Airlines. So my father decided to accompany me to the airport that day, and their plan was, failed. But they still took me for 20 minutes. I mean, and then my father threatened the president that if I'm not back home in a short time, that he's going to fight him in every street in Damascus. And then, of course, they brought me back after 20 minutes. And then a couple of days later, I flew to Boston. I went back in 1997 for Christmas holidays to visit my father in Latakia, and he left again Syria in 98, and I stayed to take care of our charity there. And in 1999, I traveled again to Spain to visit my father, and 10 days after I arrived, the regime sent thousands of troops to our house in Latakia. They bombed it with tanks, rocket launchers, gunships, helicopters. And many people died. At the time, I was trying to talk to the media in the West, trying to tell them, please don't follow the regime's what the regime is saying, their story, that they're attacking a illegal port belonging to my father. It was our house, and I was asking journalists to go and visit the area and see that there's no possibility to have a port in this area. But it was too late. There was a lot of support for Bashar at the time. And shortly after his father, my late uncle, passed away, many including leaders, including Tony Blair, Madeleine Albright, Jacques Chirac, King Abdullah of Jordan, former King Abdullah of Saudi, they all went and to give support to Bashar. And they made him a huge, PR campaign that he was British educated. The guy has spent less than a year in the UK. That doesn't make someone British educated. And that he's going to change Syria, that we're gonna move towards democracy, that we're gonna make peace, and all of that. It didn't happen.
Well, that's an account, a very vivid account of the factional hostilities, the violence reflected through the experience of you and your own family. From what you know of this man, you didn't know him terribly well personally, but he is a relative. Did Bashar al-Assad become a monster? Was he always a monster?
Well, from what I can tell you, from the short time that short interaction I had with him, I got two things. First one, he's a monster because when he started, he told me, didn't you watch the video of, we have a distant cousin who was an officer in the military, his name was Ribal Al Assad, and he told me, haven't you watched the video of your cousin Ribal Al Assad being tortured? And I was like, what? I got shocked when he said that. I said, sorry, what are you talking about? Are you proud of yourself that you've got your own cousin tortured and you have him on video and you're distributing that to people? And I insulted him, and he said, well, I think you're not going to understand until I do the same thing to you. So this one, I get out of the car, and I never said it before, but yes, I hit him, he ran away, and a couple of months later, his father sent thousands of troops to the airport to try to assassinate me, and thank God that my father accompanied me to the airport. And when the head of the presidential convoy, General Mufid al-Rahwan, when he saw my father, he was shocked and didn't know what to do anymore. Their plan had failed, and after 2 hours and a half, I convinced my father that I go with them, and he let me go with them. And I went back, and as I said, my father finally spoke. I was happy that he went back safely home. He spoke to the president, he threatened, and I went back, and I was able to travel. But if this is when I really woke up to the fact that if this happened to me, and I'm part of the family. Could you imagine what happens with normal people who stand up to the regime, or they give a different opinion? They definitely would have been there, as we have seen people released from jail yesterday and the day before, who have been there for 40 years. Some of them have died there. Some of them, they were kids, women. So it's a horrible, horrific regime, and this is what I've been fighting against since I left my country. This is why I set up the Organization for Democracy and Freedom in Syria. Before the Arab Spring, I set up the Iman Foundation to promote interfaith, intrafaith, intercultural dialogue and challenging extremism in 2010, before the Arab Spring, because I knew where we were heading. But I was at the same time trying to bring, to kind of lobby the West and talk to Western politicians and to Western countries. I spoke at many, I spoke in parliaments. We've had events here in Brussels, in Strasbourg, and I spoke to many organizations, universities all over the world.
Yes,
and trying to tell we need to move towards a peaceful transitional change. We need a democratic change, to a genuine representative democratic change in Syria. We don't want a dictatorship, but we also want to make sure that what happens in Syria in the future, it won't look like what happened in Iran over 30 years ago, when the Shah was replaced by those crazy mullahs. This is definitely what we don't want. Iran has an expansionist ambition, and I've been saying that forever. As you've seen, they want to go to reach the Mediterranean. They arm extremist groups such as Hamas as well. They don't. It doesn't matter. They arm whoever, and they do not fight personally. They don't send their own troops, so they fight using Arabs. They destroyed Gaza. They destroyed southern Lebanon and even Beirut. Part of Beirut. They destroyed. Syria. Syria has been totally destroyed because of their actions. And now we have Turkey, another expansionist power in the region that is even more dangerous, because they want the expansionism. They view the Ottoman Empire expanding from Mauritania to Western China.
I can hear the depth of feeling in what you have to say. You've been warning against the nature and the dangers of your cousin's regime for many, many years. Now, that regime has been brought down. Your cousin has been driven to Moscow with his wife, and setting up there under the protection under the umbrella of Vladimir Putin. The arrival of the new power in Syria, HST, the Islamist rebellion, is that, in your view, a positive development? Do you see grounds for optimism in that?
No, of course not. This could have been avoided from the beginning if Bashar would have 13 years ago moved towards transitional peace, a peaceful transitional change to genuine representative democracy.
Yes.
Instead, he had chosen to take the country into war. He has chosen, if you remember, people were in the streets calling 111, the Syrian people are one. They were chanting peacefully. They were looking west for genuine democratic Western democracy.
Ribal, so look, I mean, that opportunity may have presented itself, but it was not taken. It took what has happened over the past fortnight to remove Bashar al Assad. Now, we are where we are. Is there any ground? Are we in a better place from Syria's point of view now?
But it's important to know that he's the one who released those Islamists to make sure that genuine Democrats have no place on the table. So he released those many Islamists from jail, and he allowed them to start attacking. So you had ISIS on one side, Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, who are now HTS, and other foreign fighters on the other side, and the Syrian regime, who were killing all those real genuine Democrats, who were rising against the government. And today, as you've seen, instead of having a peaceful change, we've had Turkey, who, again, as I said, they have an expansionist ambition, even more than Iran, who have threatened Europe with millions of refugees. Today, they have armed these groups, these specific jihadi groups. As you know, HTS is a regroupment of several groups who are all jihadi extremists. And the head is Jolani, who was in ISIS and then became the leader of Al-Nusra, which is Al-Qaeda in Syria. They have, alongside fighting with them, they have the Turkestan Islamic Party, who are Chinese. They have the Chechen Islamists. They have Dagestanis. They have Europeans. I'm sure they are British, Spanish, French, Belgian. So we don't want Syria to move from democracy to theocracy. And sadly, this is where it's going.
Indeed. Let me just ask you about that. So deep reservations about the arrival of HTS. Their leader is saying that he wants to be in the business of government. This is no longer the kind of conduct we associate with jihadist, extreme Islamist groups. Do you reject that? Do you not believe that? Do you think stability is possible under this new power?
Well, did you believe that Hamas, when all Western countries start saying, "Oh, the poor Hamas, they got elected democratically," and they start, when they were throwing people off the buildings, all those who were against them, who were with the PLO, did anyone believe them? A lot of people were fooled by them, and you've seen what it led to. It took them many years to understand that this is, they are actually jihadis, not different from Al Qaeda, from the Muslim Brotherhood, from ISIS. They all have the same perverted ideology. So the guy, came out in his CNN interview and said, "We will protect minorities." I just heard, sorry, I forgot who was the person who just said from the UK government who said they have to protect minorities. The minorities are not cattle or sheep to be protected by those people. Minorities should be protected by the Constitution, by the law.
That is a clear statement
Yes.
from you. Let me ask you another question relating to your, as it were, extended family, if I can use that expression. The wife of Bashar Al Assad, she is a British citizen. How would you feel about her coming to this country, to the United Kingdom? Should that be even remotely a possibility? She is British.
Yeah, she's British, but at the end of the day, she didn't have any. I don't think she had any official, position in the regime, and I don't think she has any power over her husband. I'm sure even if she could tell him, as I said, whenever, she could tell him every day, "This is what you should do." I don't think that he's going to listen, But sadly, yes, she was not able to influence his decision.
Was there a view in your family about his wife, about Asma?
To be honest, nobody, we don't know her, and a lot of people in the families, they don't have any, any relationship with her. But you have to know that Bashar's mentality, Bashar views himself. He wants to show the world that he's the smartest. He's not there because he inherited the power from his father. He's not there because by accident, because his brother died in a car accident. He wants to show the world that he's there because he really knows. He has this complex. That I'm here because of my own capacity. I'm the smartest. I'm the most intelligent. I know better than anyone. And this is what happened. So I don't think neither her or her children or anyone has any influence over his thinking, including his own brother.
All right, Ribal, I will leave it there. And again, thank you for joining us on the program. Ribal Al Assad